Hey gang, John here from Keys to Fun with our latest installment of our mini session. Today it's going to be a bit more of a conceptual lesson as we received an email recently asking us the difference between sharps and flats. They knew what sharps and flats were, talking about playing the black keys, but they wanted to know why sometimes you used a sharp and sometimes you used a flat. They noticed that they had some songs in one of the Hal Leonard books where sometimes they saw a C sharp and other times they saw a D flat, and they knew it was the same note. They were just wondering, well, why do they both exist? Why might you see one in one song as compared to another? And so we're going to take the opportunity today in about a 10 to 15 minute lesson to go over a bit of an overview on the sharps and flats, but then to get to the crux of that answer, which is, why do you use a sharp sometimes and a flat other times? Okay, let's take a look at it, and hopefully by the end of this 10 minutes you'll have a fairly good understanding as to why music is written the way that it is. Hey everybody. So today we're going to be doing a bit of a conceptual lesson because we received an email recently in regards to why some notes are considered sharp and some notes are considered flats. And their question was, they've seen songs where they've seen C sharps, they've seen other songs where they've seen D flats, and what makes that determination? So our program today will center around why a sharp or why a flat. So the long and short of it is that the sharps and the flats all here, I usually start out taking a bit of a step back, talking about half steps. And half steps are referencing two keys that are adjoining with no key in between. Now we're talking about two keys that are adjoining with no key in between. I'm not looking to have you look at the keys from here down, because when you look at them from here down, all of these keys appear to be next to one another. When you look at them from here up, you notice that most of these keys are actually not next to one another. Most of them have a key that splits the difference in between them. Now, when we're looking at music from a spatial aspect, the smallest spacing, where we're using the keys here, the smallest spacing is in what we call half steps. And half steps are two keys that are adjoining, two keys that are next to each other with no key in between. Now again, using what I just referenced up on the board here, I want you to look at the keys from here up. And looking at them from there up and talking about two keys that are adjoining, you'll notice that there are three ways that you can produce a half step, or two keys that are adjoining. You can produce a half step by going from a white key to a black key. You can go from a black key to a white key. Or there are some special circumstances where you can go from a white key to another white key. So for example, a B to a C or an E to an F. So a white key to a white key in some circumstances will give you a half step. Now I bring this up because when we're talking about the black keys, and you see a sharp, which looks like the pound sign on a telephone, or as one of our students this week told me, God bless her, she's in her 90s, she said, that's a hashtag. And I said, good for you, because I just learned what that was not too long ago. So when you see this symbol that looks like that is a sharp, looks like that, or a lowercase b, which looks like a flat, that's referencing the black keys. Now each one of these symbols tells you to play the black key next to the note that it affects. So for example, if I see a note that, I'm going to write this a little bit higher just to make sure that it's still in the range. If I see a note that is in this space and there is a sharp symbol in front of it, this note is not to be played. This is telling me to play the black key a half step to the right of this note. Easy way to think about it, the black key on the right-hand side of this note, right above it. Whereas if I see A flat symbol next to a note is telling me to play the black key to the left of the note that it's affecting, or lower. One way that I was taught way back when was that the sharp raises and the flat lowers. So when you get a flat tire, your tire goes down. When you have a sharp, you sit on a sharp tack, you're going to pop up. Okay? So the sharp goes up, the flat goes down. But again, they're all the same thing. If I'm looking at my key structure, and forgive me here for I'm a music teacher, not an art teacher. If this is a C, that's a D, and this is an E, this note here is both a C sharp as well as a D flat. This note here is both a D sharp as well as an E flat. Okay? This is something that we call enharmonic equivalence. Enharmonic equivalence. The key with the same tone, but with two different names. Now, why would it have two different names? Now, the stock answer I usually give students in trying to skillfully avoid a complete answer is I will say, well, it matters the key that the song is in. And most beginners say, oh, okay, matters the key. They may not understand what that means, but that's the answer that I usually give everybody to start, just to kind of wet your whistle in terms of how this all works. But in tackling it from a little bit more of a specific example of it mattering what key the song is in, songs are in specific keys, meaning they use specific notes within the scale. So let's say I were to have a song that was in the key of D. Well, that would mean that I would be tackling notes that are in the scale of D. And I can determine my scale by using a relatively well-known formula that many of you may be familiar with. WWH, WWWH. Now the W stands for whole step, the H stands for half step. Now, if I start with a D, I need to end with a D because I'm playing a whole octave. Now here's where this becomes very interesting, and here's where you can see whether an instrument, or a note rather, rephrase that, whether a note is a sharp or a flat. Whenever I'm setting up my scale, I need to use all of the available letters. So before I even figure out what whole steps and half steps are from D, now a whole step is two half steps. So what's a half step? The key directly next to it with no key in between, and we went over what a half step is. Well, a whole step is two of those, okay? Now again, before we even get into that, let's just fill in the blanks here. So I need to go E, F, G, A, B, C, D. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. I used all of the available notes. Now I can go back and figure out if any of them need to be a sharp or a flat. So if I start here on the D, a whole step up from the D is in fact an E. A whole step up from the E, 1, 2, is an F sharp. You notice that I'm using a sharp as opposed to a G flat. Is it the same note? Yes, it's the same note, but this cannot say D, E, G, G. It has to be F. Okay? So I went D, a whole step up from D is E, a whole step up from E is F sharp. A half step up from F sharp, the key right next door, is G. A whole step up from the G is the A. A whole step up from the A is the B. A whole step up from the B is the C sharp. And again, it has to be a C sharp because it can't be a D. This couldn't have said A, B, D, D. It had to say A, B, C, D. Okay? And any key can be determined this way. Now, how do I know if I did it correctly? I play the notes. So if I start on D, if I play D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D, it will sound like the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale of D, starting on a D. I could have started anywhere. I could have started on a G, I could have started on an F. But the way, again, that you'll know whether you'll be utilizing a sharp or a flat is if you see the letter that needs to be used, they all have to be used. Okay, it's basically as simple as that. When you are figuring out a scale, you have to use every single letter. And it makes no difference where you start. We'll do another one very quickly with you. Why don't we do an A? So we'll start with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Okay? Have to use all of the letters. Now I go back and I can figure out whether I need sharps or flats dependent upon what letter is here. Okay? So if I started an A, a whole step up from the A is a B. A whole step up from the B is a C sharp. A half step up from the C sharp is a D. Okay? A whole step up from the D is an E. A whole step up from the E is the F sharp. Again, not G flat, but F sharp. A whole step up from the F sharp is a G sharp. And then finally, a half step up from the G sharp is an A. So I'm utilizing, again, all of my letters, and that's why I have sharps here as opposed to flats. Now, to give you a quick example of a flat, since I used two examples that have sharps, we'll do a pretty straightforward one. How about we start with F? Now we go F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Again, using all of the letters. F, whole step above the F is a G. A whole step above the G is an A. A half step above the A, using all of the letters, gives me a B flat. Whole step up from B flat is C, because there's no black key here, so that brings me to another white key. A whole step up from C is D, a whole step up from D is E, and then E to F is a half step because there's no black key there. So sometimes, again, you'll find flats, sometimes you'll find sharps, but that is the determining factor as to which one you will see from time to time. It matters, as I said, with my ambiguous answer earlier, it matters the key that it's in. But to take it, again, a little bit of a step further in explaining that answer more fully, once you determine the key, you know the notes that are often comprised within a song that's in that key. And in that you have to use every one of the letters, there's your determination as to whether you're playing a sharp as opposed to a flat or vice versa. At the end of the day, they're the same note. It's just a matter of how they're named, which direction you're looking at them from, or, in our case here, what key the song is in. Well, I certainly hope that you got something out of our lesson today. Sharps and flats can be a little tricky to explain, and I did my best in trying to make it as understandable as possible, but I'm always looking to improve. So if you have any questions, if I can clarify anything, there are a variety of ways that you can reach out to us. You can call our studio directly. Our phone number is 401-277-9800. You can also sign up to subscribe to our website, which is www.keystofunmusic.com. You can follow us on Facebook. If you go and search for the Keys to Fun Music and Lesson Center on Facebook, we should come right up. And those are all ways that you can reach right out to us, me personally, and hopefully I can answer any questions that you have. Keys to Fun represents both Lowry as well as Yamaha Clavinova, and I am on staff to answer any questions on those instruments that you do have. So if you do have questions on instruments or our lesson program, anything of the sort, please feel free to reach out to us. That's why we're here. We're here to educate, inform, and entertain. And I hope you got at least one of those things this week. Okay, thank you very much, and I look forward to next week's lesson. We'll see you then.